Hi, my name's Dory Vandell. I'm a wardrobe coach, but I'm also a student. And this video is being made for an assignment for my Provincial Instructor Diploma Program, Instructional Strategies course 3250. Thanks for coming along. Have you ever dressed a life-size paper body shape as an adult and clipped paper clothes to it? Have you ever dressed a chair in an entire job interview outfit? Well, if you've done neither of those things, you'll learn about those today on this video. Student engagement is many things. It's collaboration, understanding, authenticity, learning, finding things out. But according to Elizabeth Barkley, it is a combination of motivation and active learning. One of my favorite student engagement techniques to use in the classroom in my workshops is stations. Even when I was a kid, I loved that in grade school, moving from one spot to another in a classroom, being able to discover different things, and the active moving part I liked. So today, talking about stations, these are some things that we'll cover on this video. The context, when and why it works best, advantages, limitations, step-by-step procedure, best practices, the role of the student and the instructor, what implications are there, if any, and a short review. The essential characteristics of stations are that they include everybody. They're inclusive and everyone gets to play around. It's a collaboration of working together. The context which stations works best is when you're trying to scaffold a core idea. Each station builds on the next station, which builds on the next, to present your core idea. Several related activities can take place at the same time. It really creates a great buzz in the classroom to have all kinds of people doing all kinds of things at one time. And it addresses different learning styles. Psychomotor, cognitive, affective. It's a great way to learn. Some of the advantages to using stations as a student engagement technique are that it includes all the students and no one's left sitting at their desk. It offers lots of different varieties of active learning, and they get to touch and play with lots of different learning materials, not just pens and paper or watch PowerPoint slides. It allows students to examine what they've learned and to talk about it, and in my workshops, to laugh about it. It's all inclusive. Everyone gets to be there. Some limitations are that some students may be hesitant. Participating sometimes in an activity can be uncomfortable even for an adult. So making sure that we're sensitive to these students' needs, I like to walk alongside them to make sure that when they don't understand what's going on, I can help them until they do. Without singling them out, I like to be sure that they feel confident to participate in the activity, and then I let them go and have a good time. Is there enough time? Time can be a limitation, making sure that each station is not so complicated that they don't have time to finish their task. So being careful with that when you're planning your stations. Most of all, is there enough space? Do you have enough room to do it as you want to do? You need to give students lots of room to move around and actively participate in what they're doing. And if they're too squishy, they may feel not as free to participate. So being careful to make sure you've provided enough space. A step-by-step procedure for building a station for your class is to select a topic. First of all, you need to have a topic. For me, it's wardrobe management. When you decide on your topic, you'll have to ask yourself some questions. Can you display it? Is it appropriate? Can it be displayed appropriately in stations, and will it be understood? And for me, stations works just the best. Number 2, plan your logistics. Very important. The location of your stations. Where will they be throughout the classroom? How many are there going to be? How many will you need? Is there good flow amongst your stations? Does the first one help the next one make more sense? And do they build on each other to get to your core idea? How long will the students have to spend at each station until they've completed their task? Can you provide enough time? And what exactly are they going to do there? What are your expectations? Then you need to construct your stations. Well, for me, I construct paper people. This is an example of my life-size geometric paper people body shapes and paper clothing. The reason I use these is because they're non-threatening and they're non-personal. They're just geometric shapes, and we talk about body shapes in a non-personal manner, and we pin the clothes to the paper shapes in a non-personal way. And the reason I use this is so they can understand what jackets and pants and skirts or etc. go with which body shape the best, so they'll look really pulled together for their job interview. This is an example of dressing the chair, an activity that I have in one of my stations. They're provided with a bag of clothing for a specific job interview outfit and required to dress the chair. Once they've completed that task, they're to guess the price of the retail, original retail, and the thrift. And this helps them to see the difference between buying secondhand and buying expensive clothes for that job interview. Because they don't have a job yet, they're going to need to be thrifty. Step number 4, making some decisions about your group size. According to the size of your classroom, how many groups will you need? How many will there be in each group? In my workshops, I don't normally teach more than 10 or 15 students, so groups of 2 to 3 work best for me. How many groups will there be? And how many stations will you need to get across your core idea? For me, I like to make sure that I have just one group at each station, but it can be done with more than one group if you're careful to design it that way. I just need to be organized and make sure that I've given clear instructions and explained well what I'm looking for. Step number 5, create your groups. To create groups, you can do sound off, 1, 2, 1, 2, but I have more fun in my workshops and I like to use yay thrift and Yahoo consignment and shop for less, that sort of thing. And then they pair up with the one that made the same statement as they did. Then I make sure that I take time to explain the task. This is a very important part of any classroom activity, but especially in stations when there's more than one thing going on at one time. I take time to explain the task, giving a visual example of what I expect at each station so that they'll spend less time being confused and more time learning the task at the station. Then I give them time to ask questions. Sometimes I think I'm very clear when I communicate, but it's not always so. I like to give the students a chance to ask questions in case they are confused. Some best practices during stations is to make sure that I create a safe environment, making sure that I've set rules and boundaries very clearly so they know what's acceptable, what isn't, what's okay, and what isn't. Being sure that I've respected cultural preferences. Some students are not comfortable changing clothing, and that's why I don't ask them to. It's just inanimate objects, we're dressing a chair. I also want to be very careful to have respect for gender diversity. In my classroom, there's room for everyone. I like to invite ideas and discussion. It's amazing to me how my adult students come to class with so much experience, and I learn from them, and the other students learn from them, and then they're given a platform for their voice. I like to include everyone. Something I need to be aware of as well during stations is any language barrier that may take place. It might be possible to have another student interpret for the student that's struggling. I may need to have to go so far as to provide an interpreter in that classroom so the student can participate. Just being aware. I also need to encourage cooperation. If they're going to be working on activities together and collaborating, they're going to need to be able to cooperate. And I want them to be able to learn to listen to each other and talk about what they've learned. I like to be able to evaluate their progress as they're going and not wait till the end. I move from station to station, making sure that they're understanding what's expected of them and that they're having a great time learning. I like to give them instant feedback. I don't want to wait till the end and say, you did a great job. I like to be able to tell them that right away. Positive feedback is great, and praise is an excellent tool. And if congratulations are in order, which they always are, I make sure I give it right away. The role of the educator, that would be me, is to be enthusiastic. That's a high priority for me. If I'm not enthusiastic about what I'm teaching, it's going to be pretty hard to expect the students to be enthusiastic in participating. I'd like to be a good example, be authentic and professional, be good at what I do. Evaluate student progress as I go along and give instant feedback. Make sure that I've facilitated well so they've enjoyed the learning experience. The role of the student is to engage, to participate, to ask critical questions and think, to participate in discussion and listen to one another. A station's review. It's inclusive and collaborative, they work well. 5 important steps are choosing your topic, working out your logistics, constructing your stations, deciding on group size, and explaining well what it is you expect. Some advantages are that it's very inclusive and collaborative and students have lots of fun. Some limitations are that some students may be shy. Maybe there's a language barrier and you need to make sure that you have lots of time and space. Implications can be their cultural preferences about clothing and being careful to respect that. Gender diversity. Is there a language barrier? Best practices, making sure that you've made a very safe environment for your students. And the role of the instructor and the student. Instructors need to be enthusiastic and professional, and students to engage. Success. That's what brings success to any classroom, especially for stations. If you follow these steps, you're going to have success. You can further find out more student engagement techniques similar to this in Elizabeth Barclay's book, Student Engagement Techniques, a Handbook for College Faculty. Make sure you check it out. Thanks for joining me on this video journey.